Greetings, fellow moviegoers, and welcome to Movie Central, the place to talk about movies, TV shows based on movies, toys based on movies, games based on movies, and rides based on movies. I'm your host, Mr. CCS, and this is my pecorilla George. You might be wondering why there's a different angle and why I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Well, first of all, here's the shirt, and also because it's a little cold outside, and the desk is going to be here for a minute, I think, so just keep that in mind. So, this season has been surrounded by fictional monsters, but what if I told you there was a possibility of a real monster? That's right, an actual monster that really exists. So terrifying that it doesn't even have a name, just a title. The Missing Link. Okay, all jokes aside, the missing link is a concept that really goes into human evolution as we know it, as there is a hypothetical missing link between human and animal evolution. However, any proof of this existing is beyond. So what can you do with a concept like this? Easy. You make a monster movie out of it. Despite the mythological monsters that live underwater, like the Bunyip, Loch Ness Monster, or even the Kraken, I guess a humanoid fishman is just as scary. Yeah, this story was envisioned by producer William Allen, who heard a story of a possible sea beast that was a human-fish hybrid living in the middle of the Amazon jungle. That alone is a pretty unique concept for a monster movie, and Universal went all in with it in 1954, when the movie was released to the public. Obviously, it was adored by fans, but it wasn't as well received as the other films in the Universal Monster Library, surprisingly. I don't know the reason, and I can't imagine why. Does it deserve less praise than the other movies I've reviewed? Well, let's find out today. This is Creature from the Black Lagoon. Remnants of a mysterious animal have come to light in a remote jungle, and a group of scientists intends to determine if the find is an anomaly or evidence of an undiscovered beast. To accomplish their goal, the scientists, played by Antonio Moreno, Richard Carlson, Richard Denningham Bissell, alongside a woman played by Julie Adams, must brave the most perilous pieces of land in South America. But the terrain is nothing compared to the danger posed by an otherworldly being that endangers their world and their lives. I'm gonna say it right now. This is my favorite of the Universal Classic monster movies thus far. It's beautifully shot, wonderfully paced, very well written, and overall frightening. I imagine that it deserves as much praise as possible from critics like its siblings that came before it. As of now, this and The Wolfman are the best of the Universal Classic monster films to me, and I don't think anything can change that. So, knowing that part of my thoughts, let's analyze the movie so I can show you how much I really appreciated it. So, I can confidently say that out of all of the characters in the Universal Monster franchise, these are the only times where the characters are all interesting. There's the occasional throwaway characters like Seed, Chico, Tomas, and that other character whose name I can't remember, but the rest of the characters have at least something to do. Dr. Edwin Thompson is the one that has very gruesome mauling at the hands of the sea monster. Lucas is the sailor with experience that is a ton of fun to be around, especially seeing some of our popular characters. And Dr. Carl Maya was a great older character to follow, especially in regards to how he influences the main protagonist's career. The best characters in the movie, to me at least, are Dr. David Reed, Kay Lawrence, and Mark Williams. Mark is your typical jealous villain, but he's also a decent guy at times. And while I was actively rooting for him to die, I did understand that he was a well-respected man. That said, he is a flawed human being, and the movie very well utilized that as the thing that gets him killed. Kay was the typical damsel in distress, but she did hold her own in several scenes, and she was compelling to watch. Finally, we have David, your protagonist who's big and surly, but he's not thick-headed. He's actually smart, and he doesn't actively try to kill the sea monster, at least at first. A common thing I realized throughout the course of the movie is that these characters definitely felt the most human out of the character lineup we have of the other Universal monster movies, considering the fact that most of them were over-the-top nonsense, a lot of them. Here they aren't. They feel like people going through normal struggles. But you all know the real star of the movie. The sea monster himself, the Gill Man. I don't really like calling him that, so I'll call him the sea monster. This dude was scary. His eyes have a dead expression, he's brutal, he doesn't give up, he's fascinating, and he's actively making me fear for the characters. I didn't know who would get killed or survive. That's how unsure this thing made me feel. It wasn't as good as Lon Chaney's Larry Teller, but he was frightening, and the most monster out of all of them. He is especially one of my favorite of these monsters, especially because he has the scariest home. So yeah, the characters were extremely well done, and the best thing about them is that they're all human, making them the best characters in these movies. As far as effects go, the suit for the sea monster is incredible, and its flame retardant feature makes it all the more impressive all these years later. Remember when they set people on fire for real in movies? The underwater scenes were also well done, as they actually shot in a real lake in Florida to make it feel authentic. It's amazing to see how much work went into this project, especially for all the corner cutting they did for all the other films. With it being shot on location, the trees make it feel like these characters are surrounded by the thick and dense jungle of the Amazon, which made it all authentic once again and actually frightening. Look, I knew Dracula's castle was a set. I knew Frankenstein's laboratory was a set. I knew Imhotep's tomb was a set. They're all impressive, but they are just frightening as a real jungle, which means this movie gains extra brownie points. As for the music, what we have here is a score that is eerie, sometimes calm, but also downright frightening at some points, especially when they play that main music cue for the creature. Finally, we have the scare factor, which did get me at some points. Whenever the sea monster would drag someone down into the water, I was on the edge of my seat. When the sea monster was swimming by our characters, I was always nervous. What else can I say? The movie was very effective when it came to the scarier moments, and that is evident in several scenes. So yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon is my favorite of the Universal Monster movies thus far. It's scary, it's well written, and it's a blast from the past from beginning to end. If I'm going to recommend any of these, watch this and The Wolfman. They're both my favorites and the scariest of these films to me so far. I'm going to give this film exactly what it deserves, a 10 out of 10. Well, if you thought this beast that rests in the water was frightening, you haven't seen we're going to be talking about a bigger one next week. With that said, my name is Mr. CTS, this is Movie Central, and that, my friends, is a wrap.